You're listening to Death Takes a Holiday, a Middle Falls podcast on KMFR Radio with your host, Matthias Dexter Frost. Today's guest, Andrew Parmet.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Death Takes a Holiday, episode 2 of Middle Falls podcast. And we are again continuing our discussion about the unusual second life of Thomas Weaver. This is my husband, Christopher Dexter. You might remember him from the last time. And this is Andrew Parmet, a great friend of mine and somebody I snookered into listening to the audiobook. And we're going to find out what his thoughts are on it. And Chris is just joining us for some additional commentary today. So thank you for showing up. And,
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. All right. So when we left off with Chris, you were still on chapter 14.
Yes.
And you're still on chapter 14.
Unfortunately.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry. Life. So,
I know. It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
But
Where does that leave us in the story?
that leaves us right around the time where Thomas was following Michael Hollister to his evil cave.
Okay.
It was a
And-
little after that. I
little
know
bit after
Michael Hollister had actually approached Thomas.
Yeah, it was after that because Michael Hollister found him at the football game
Yes.
and
Yeah.
sort of gave him a
That's
veiled threat and
Yeah.
kidnapped the dog.
yes.
This is right around the time where he kidnapped Amiable,
That's right.
Yes,
Amiable.
yes.
Yeah.
which
Oh.
just the way Thomas says the dog's name, you just love the dog.
Mm.
Amy, Amiable, Amy,
Mm.
because she was so friendly, so they named it Amiable.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel really bad when Michael kidnaps the dog. You're like,
Mm.
oh, shit. Moving on from that, we talked about what it would be like to go back in time and relive our lives from a certain point on, from when we were teenagers or whatever. And I wanted to pose the same question to you. If you passed away, unfortunately, we'd be sad, but if you passed away and you woke up at an earlier point in your life, we'll say 15.
Nice awkward time.
Nice, yeah, a wonderful time for human development. Where would that put you in life?
Well, that would be just before going to college, a few years to figure things out maybe a little bit differently.
Mhm.
Possibly that's always the temptation. But then you kind of think about if you make a little change, what else is it going to possibly change?
Mm.
If you make some radical steps, might you not run into people that you met before and possibly not have friends that you grew up with originally?
Right.
But it has the same, on the flip side, there's that possibility of I could change a whole bunch of things I know I want to look back on and adjust if I could. It's so easy to sort of fall into the same steps at the same time.
So in these books, many of the characters, if you continue with the series, you'll find they encounter a lot of the same people throughout the course of their lives, but their interactions might be slightly different.
Right.
You saw in Thomas's situation in the early chapters when he goes back to school, for example, he still has the mind of a 56-year-old man. He's interacting with people that are 15. We talked about sounding like the dad
Mm.
when he talks about, oh, the braces will be great for you. Yeah.
Right.
When that happens in the books, the interactions are pretty close together, but you're right in the sense that even the slightest deviation can change so much because once you diverge from your original path, you're going to go further and further away. And in some of these stories, this does happen.
Mm.
In Thomas Weaver, he's trying to stop somebody he knows is going to murder a lot of people.
Mm.
Right.
So he's already heavily deviating from his last course, and he's trying to save his brother Zach's life. He doesn't want the same thing to happen, which I would argue just by being aware that that was going to happen, if Thomas doesn't even go to the party, then Zach just sleeps it off on the beach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He doesn't try to drive home. He's passed out.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Right.
I don't want to sound cruel, but in a way, Tommy he didn't know what else to do. But by forcing Zach to get in the car and trying to drive him home, he probably was thinking about that and carrying that guilt his whole life, not just because of the accident, but because he was trying to get them home so they wouldn't get in trouble.
Right. Right.
And at that point, it's like, just get in trouble.
Right.
Right. But you don't think like that at that time because you have a 15-year-old's mind.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, if you're 56 in a 15-year-old body, you have the experience and knowledge to avoid that. But at 15, you don't think why, you think why not.
Mhm.
It's not to say that what they did was right, but it's understandable from that age
Right.
perspective.
But in the new timeline, all Tommy has to do is just not go.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and that one act
Well, that's true.
makes
right.
both saves his brother and also prevents horrible things
From happening down the line.
to
Yeah.
a lot of people. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
One of the things I like, and this might be getting into some slight spoiler territories for you.
Okay.
I like his interactions with Carrie.
Yes, absolutely.
Carrie is the girl who everybody calls Cootie Carrie.
Okay.
Spoiler alert for the audience. We find out that she is also somebody who's been reborn many times. She actually, unfortunately, takes her own life in most of her incarnations due to depression and all sorts of other things going on in her life. She's the one who first poses the question to Thomas. I think isn't she the one who says, "How many times is it for you?"
Yes. Yeah.
And that's become sort of a tagline in the Middle Falls community. They actually have T-shirts that say, "How many lives is it for you?" So that's pretty cool. It's a little hidden and obscure, but if I found somebody wearing that shirt, I'd be like, I know, I got that. I know what you're saying. I love where Carrie's coming from and how she's learned to not show off her future knowledge. Were you there with the cafeteria scene where he says Pablo Cruz sucks?
It was at the beginning of
yes, no one's going to know who Pablo Cruz is in 10 years.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, she's sort of in her own kind of loop.
Right. She's stuck in her own loop.
And she's staying in those same familiar lanes, not trying to push things or trying to make as great changes.
One of the great themes about Sean Inman's books, especially in this series, is personal growth. It's not just about the adventure aspect of going back in time and changing results of events that come to define your lives and having a new path. It's also the personal growth that comes along with that. The learning not to carry so much baggage through life that you didn't need to, or addressing something that you might have done that was wrong or messed up. Like later characters in the series, some of them aren't necessarily nice people. They might be swindlers or scam artists or thieves or just people that have lived such rough lives. They might be a little callous and indifferent to the world around them. Tommy seemed like a nice guy that just got a bad deal. I think we saw that in the early chapters, like Chris said last time. They were very dark and heavy.
Yeah.
And he was carrying a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
I don't really have a question with this. What are your thoughts on things like redemption? Because the next book is about Michael Hollister himself.
Oh, cool.
And it goes through how his respawns, his restarts go into his history in the beginning, which is very, very dark. Like if you thought Thomas Weaver was dark, holy crap. Michael Hollister stuff is extremely dark.
Yeah. I did actually hear some of those early chapters.
Yeah, because it was on the
at the cap end, exactly. And it's intense. So
yeah, it is intense. I don't really rate these books as to which ones I like more, but I do think Michael Hollister is a more compelling story because of what he has to do to get his humanity back. Whereas Thomas Weaver has to save his brother's life, which is still a Herculean task, and he has to stop the killing spree that he knows is going to happen.
Yeah.
But Michael Hollister has a huge road to walk when he's reborn. And I'm not gonna spoil that one, audience, because if you know, you know. I hate that saying. But if you've read the book, you know how hard that is for him to accomplish. Redemption. Do you think that anybody is beyond redemption if you start over and realize that, well, I screwed that chance up, I'm going to redo it? I'm not talking about your more egregious offenders, but just in general, we all feel regret.
Sure.
I would think so, but it really depends on the type of person. There was somebody I knew who actually had a position in a particular company who had that position due to being born in a very wealthy family. And this guy couldn't do anything right. In fact, I'm purposely not naming names just in case.
Right.
But you and I used to call him Bobby Fuck Up.
See, it's actually a specific person. This isn't a euphemism.
Yeah,
we all know and feel. But
that's honestly, you and I can say that because it's not referring to the exact person that I don't want to name. But yeah, unfortunately he had a bad car accident while I was working at the company that he was running, and he almost didn't make it. He came very close to dying.
I remember that.
And once he actually was on the road to physical therapy, his attitude didn't change. He was still not a nice person, throwing his weight around and also not really caring whether or not he was doing things correctly. So a lot of times, usually when somebody has a near-death experience, they tend to realize, I haven't been living life correctly. This guy had the opportunity to change. He chose not to. So while I do believe redemption can be a thing, I feel at times it's like, well, this is who you are. And even when you do have something that can cause you to go on a better path, they sometimes don't.
Sometimes they don't see the opportunity that they have.
Yeah.
And they're not grateful or humble enough
Yeah.
to realize that, oh my God, I almost died.
Mhm.
You know, and this is what we deal with in these books is obviously fiction. We don't know what happens when we die. But if somebody comes very close to dying, like let's say somebody has a heart attack and then they're like, I guess I'm going to change my diet and my lifestyle. And as a matter of fact, there is a protagonist in one of the Middle Falls books named Carl Strong. In the beginning of the book, he's very unhealthy. He's overweight. He's a heavy drinker. He eats garbage food and he dies of a heart attack. And then in the next life, he does get that, well, I'm going to do things differently. And, but it comes a little bit late. And because he's not started way back when he's a child, he started before he has the heart attack, but not that long before he has the heart attack.
Yeah.
So he does try to change his life, and he does. He loses weight, he gets fit, but he still ends up dying again of a heart attack because the damage is already done. He's already put his body through too much.
Yeah.
Right.
In the future books, they don't start them always at the same time. They get started at different times. As they're changing through things, they get different starting points. Redemption is as one of those things that it's really hard to gauge whether or not somebody's going to take that opportunity to do better, even when they're thunked on the head by life.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I think it takes some level of self-awareness and self-reflection that, like you were saying, needs to happen, and the person needs to be capable of having that. And there's some people that, unfortunately, they're just not aware of the wake that their life creates around them.
Yeah.
No matter what happens.
Exactly. One of the things I do like about Middle Falls, though, is that people get as many chances as they need. So, Andy, what are your thoughts on the book and how it flowed? What were your high points?
It had a really steady, even flow that kind of like felt like it would reach these certain peaks, and then you'd have a little time to sort of assess what was going on. But the pace would kind of pick up with every little interaction that would cause a ripple beyond what he was used to. There's times that it would ease up a bit. You'd have a little moment of reflection, but it does kind of chug along at a certain point, and you kind of want to keep going. So
you feel like it at a certain point, like there's a lot of setup, and then there's like a little bit of a reset when he's reborn. But then once the action starts going,
you're
going straight downhill.
Yeah, you're on a journey and you're locked in. So, yeah.
And it's like we were talking, when I was talking to Chris last time, there's some parts that are really twisted and scary. It gets into some pretty dark territory with Michael and the things that he's up to. And you can really feel the tenseness of the situations as these two continue to antagonize each other.
Right. And as a reader, you just feel like there's moments where you could dial it back and right the ship, but things keep getting off kilter and get pushed further and further.
Again, for anybody else who hasn't read it, spoiler, the part where Tommy finally breaks and he thinks he's killed Michael. He's beaten the ever-loving crap out of him.
That's right.
And he thinks that he's going to get arrested. And that's, I'll just leave it there. It's a very, you're rooting for him, but you're also like, holy crap.
You want to see justice done, but you realize that at a certain point, things could be taken a little too far.
Yeah, because Michael's a jerk. He keeps teasing people. You know how a lot of serial killers that we read about or we watch documentaries about, they would taunt the police?
Yeah.
Like BTK or Zodiac. You're never going to catch me.
Yeah.
I'm going to get away with this. Even the ones who were suspected, but police could never prove that they were the ones, so they never arrested them. Like they knew, but they didn't have enough evidence. So Michael kind of takes that tack. He's very arrogant and thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
So he does that thing where he knows that Tommy's on to him and he's taunting him through the rest of the whole book.
Wow.
So you just want to see Michael get his comeuppance.
Yeah, he's a very antagonistic character, and he just keeps poking and poking and poking.
Antagonist.
Exactly.
But they are.
Yeah.
Like very, very pushy.
Let's go into some lighter stuff. I asked Chris the same question I'm going to ask you. Time travel movies.
Oh, sure.
What's your favorite one?
That's a cruel question because you can't have just one. There's
love time travel movies.
I could name a ton of the top list. I'd say if I had to pick, I do like Time After Time.
I said the same thing. That's amazing.
It's such a unique story, and it's very touching, and it just pulls you in with characters in the same kind of way this first book did for me.
It is kind of a lot like Thomas Weaver, because H.G. Wells is,
nice.
in that case, he is sort of the Thomas Weaver character, and there's a serial killer loose. It's Jack the Ripper. It's whatever the character's name is.
John Leslie Stevens.
John Leslie Stevenson. Thank you very much. He ends up in San Francisco, like we talked about last time, and he's hunting women, and H.G. Wells is like, well, I have to stop this guy. He's, to bring him to justice, whatever, or at least stop him from killing people. And his girlfriend's in the crosshairs now too. Mary Steenburgen, her character is now a target. It's like a double shot. He's got to save her and stop the serial killer.
Yeah.
Very similar parallels to Second Life of Thomas Weaver. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't even know if Sean knows of that movie. If you do, then you know. I just want to go on and talk a little bit about some of the tropes you see in time travel movies. Like, what are the ones that you're just like, again? I know that sometimes, like, we talk about Back to the Future, right? We're talking, sports almanac. Biff goes back and, you know what? Look at that. There's nothing in there. So they erase the entire timeline. When you go back in time and you change something, but you can go back to the present that you just left and things are different. Like Marty goes back, he has the truck in the garage and his parents are well off and Biff's waxing the car. He still tried to do very terrible things to Lorraine, but still, now he's waxing their car. Things have changed. But in Sean Inman's books, you can't go back to the universe that you died in. You start over at a certain point in your life, and your future rolls out from there. There's no going back to the world you left. So I'm more of a fan of that. It's a little bit more of a multiverse type of thing, but it's not hard stable like Marvel is. What tropes do you find in time travel stories that just kind of make you go, what?
I don't know if it's necessarily a trope, but I feel like there tends to be this trust us. We know that we're writing the right thing. Or I'll give an example in Inception. I know I'm probably saying something blasphemous right now, but I just feel like everything in Inception works too well as they're pulling themselves back through each type of dimension, and they need everything to work out perfectly. I mean, there aside from some problems, it always just seemed to work out too well
for what seemed like a very fast and loose technology.
Where the probability was this possible that it'll work out, it does. And I always feel like, I know movie's got a movie, but I just feel like a lot of that's my trope in time travel movies. Everything seems to work out okay, or in the end. I would like it to be where it doesn't work out correctly. I mean, I'm sure there are a couple of movies that do that, but it just, to me, that's a trope, that it just, everything seems to always work out. It shouldn't sometimes, because it is time. And, you can't really measure it perfectly all the time.
Yeah, so, I agree with that. And it sort of goes hand in hand also with the one that I have, which the end result of the time travel scenario is a radical change of the universe. I mean, it theoretically would be possible to time travel and there'd be such a small change, or not really much of a change, that on a grand world scale, things are just coming along the same way. Or, minor variations. It's not like there's purple rain and flying cars. When it goes that level, it's a little much.
Right. One of the things is, when you think about the mechanics of time travel, which Sean Inman doesn't do that, by the way, none of his books go into these crazy explanations of how this happens. It's just assumed that it does. You have the Universal Life Center. They're the ones who decide who gets restarted and where, and it's set up like this ultra bureaucracy. These people, they've gotten to the point where they've learned what they needed to do. They found their true family. They can choose their destiny if they want. They can go on to any other type of afterlife that they want. In the future books, it explains this. There's a place called Rock and Roll Heaven, which is pretty cool. It's a mini story that he wrote. I think it was the first thing he wrote. You can go on and spend life with your family. You can go back and live another life on Earth, but when you're restarted there, you just, because your other life was complete, you start brand new slate. Or you could become a watcher, where you help guide people through their lives.
There's a lot of options.
There's a lot of options. I don't know where I was going. Hi, ADHD. How are you? But I think we were talking about tropes and how everything's going to be all right. I mean, again, we want everything to be all right.
Sure.
Right.
When we read a book or we watch a movie, we want everything to resolve. We don't necessarily want the bummer ending, although sometimes.
Well, I mean, if it's a regular rom-com, that makes sense. But when you're dealing with time, it's so completely mysterious. You're not really sure how it's going to work out. Like Back to the Future, everything worked out in all three. The ending. I mean, of course.
I didn't like 3.
The character, what's his name?
Marty
McFly. Duh. How did I not? He had some tasks he had to overcome, but overall, overall, it really still was a Hollywood ending. And when you're dealing with time, I don't feel that it necessarily should be a happy ending because it's such a, like I said, a mysterious thing that to finagle time for it to work out for the happy ending, it just seems a little too contrived at times.
How did they know there was going to be a train track when they reappeared?
Yeah. Like,
You know,
like, yeah.
like when
I mean, they knew it
Yeah.
existed when they left, but they changed stuff. So
railroads change all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 100 years. So that railroad theoretically couldn't have been there, or it could have been a different kind of track in which the spacing wasn't right. And that
the
old
track could
school
have
locomotive could have
moved a
just
bit.
like derailed
Yeah.
completely the moment it appeared, killing everyone on board. Credits.
that would have been a very interesting one in the series. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just, even though it's one timeline, in a way, it's not just one timeline. The alternate timeline, the alternate Biff timeline still exists.
Mm.
It didn't go away just because Marty went back and redacted it.
Right.
Like he
right.
corrected it so from that point in time forward, it wouldn't happen. But the Splinter timeline still happens.
Mm.
Yeah, it's on its own track.
Right. It's off on its own track, just like the train. Let's see. All right. So I got some questions or some points to bring up from some people on the Middle Falls Facebook group. So I'm going to actually have two people, and they ask a variety of questions. The first one is from Stephanie. Do any of the characters wear garanimals or underoos? I would say the ones that were young enough at the time, maybe, because a lot of these people were born in the 60s and 70s, a lot of Sean's characters.
That makes sense.
I don't know when
Okay.
they I don't know when those brands started. I know I wore garanimals like crazy, and I was a 70s kid.
I've heard of granules. I never wore them.
I was more of an
Underoos.
Underoos kid. Yeah, I was Underoos kid.
Garanimals were they're actually like outer clothing, not underwear necessarily. Underoos were the underwear, and
Yeah.
we all have those, various characters.
For those who don't know what underoos were, it was underwear, but you were the color and some of the graphics on your underwears matched a superhero.
Yeah, you could be
You-
Batman
Yeah.
or Superman.
Do you remember the old Halloween costumes in a box, right? Where you had that the vinyl plastic uniform, which didn't look like the uniform that the superheroes wore. It had a picture of the hero on it. Like
Yeah.
if you got a Superman costume, you got the face that looked like a molded Christopher Reeve mask, but then the whole front was just this plastic thing with Superman
And the logo. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the logo, but it wasn't like the actual suit. It was like a Superman shirt would be a more accurate costume than that.
It was like as if you went to a Superman concert and bought Superman merch.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
decided to wear it on Halloween
Yeah.
So
with a mask.
So underoos were kind of like that, except they were just underwear. It was
Yeah.
like a pair of briefs and a T-shirt that the kid would wear to bed in lieu of pajamas because I'm too big for pajamas. Kid, shut up. Garanimals, for you two guys,
Yeah.
it was just a brand of clothing for kids. Like,
Yeah.
You remember this?
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember them.
Yeah.
I remember commercials for them.
Oh, like
Oshkosh
Oshkosh.
Bagosh. Yeah.
And here's one for you:
Mhm.
Tough Skins.
Of course,
Yes.
Toughskins. Yes,
Yep.
that was Sears. Yeah.
Sears Roebuck. They made jeans that were made of like asbestos and steel fiber and Kevlar.
God,
They were
we,
designed to last 7 years.
Yeah.
we just carbon dated ourselves.
He did. Well, we're all thoroughly Gen X.
That's
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She asked another question. Favorite old school arcade game? Like actual stand-up game, I'm assuming, and not console game?
I absolutely love Miss Pac-Man. I mean, that is, if I see that in an arcade, I must play it. Where I work, we actually have in our kitchen, we have a multi-gamed, arcade game and a stand-up thing, but it's actually if in a regular Pac-Man type of thing,
Right.
but it's got multi things. But Miss Pac-Man was always the better version of Pac-Man. It was taken to
agree.
another level, but that is my go-to. I usually get up to the Apple, I think it is.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Ooh.
Not too bad.
Andy?
Mine would have to be the classic low-res Star Wars Death Star.
Oh,
thing.
where you're going down
The
the
arc,
trench?
yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's like almost, it's the black and white, like traced graphics. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so old school, but it's great.
It did have
So-
a good interface. It
Yeah.
reminded me a lot of, it's like AutoCAD, like drafting.
Yes.
type.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Very satisfying, though. I mean,
Mhm. There were two games that come to mind. One of them was a wrestling game called Mat Mania, which I can't really find anywhere. It hasn't been, to my knowledge, emulated for Steam or any of the other online platforms. And in this, you played a wrestler, and there were 5 different opponents. Once you got to the 5th one, who was Golden Hulk, I wonder who that was supposed to be. You beat him, and you got the championship, and then you would defend the championship. They would throw a random challenger your way. I don't think you could wrestle another person with it. I think it was just a one-player game.
Oh.
But one time on one quarter, I played for 4 hours straight.
Holy cow.
I got through 104 matches.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
That was cool. I used to pilfer quarters from my parents' change jar and go down to a corner store that was easily about a mile away. I would walk there from where I lived just to play this game. It was in a convenience store. And eventually my folks caught me taking change, and I got a lot of trouble for that. But this is what we would do when we were kids. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have we had console games at the time, but I still like this one, and it wasn't available on Nintendo. So there was that. And then there was one that has been ported over called Rastan. And it was like you were a Conan the Barbarian game, and it had great music to it. And you had a sword, and you would swipe at enemies, and you would go through the castles. It was a side-scrolling game, but the background had some depth to it. So it was a little 3D. I've played it on one of those Namco collection CDs. It's a really good game, and it's hard. I beat it. I turned it over once in a bowling alley, but man, I tried playing it like a few years ago. That's a hard game. You have to time all your jumps just right. Oh. And of course, I like the other ones like Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, and
Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. Outrun I liked a lot too. The sit-down one, where you were driving.
Oh yeah.
Through the course. That was pretty cool. All right. So we got a couple more here. Have either of you seen the movie Yesterday?
No.
I know of it. It's
that's one
on
that
the
I
list.
want to watch. That's the movie where what if the Beatles never existed, basically. So I'm sorry, that was from Kelly. I can't answer that because I don't know.
I've heard great things about it.
Yeah. I've heard great things about it. But we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, Kelly paid you a compliment. She's the one who said that you had a great podcast voice.
Well, thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate that.
And he also plugged your show, Dex the Music Geek. Should have been a hit. And I'm trying to nudge you into doing some more episodes because there are so many songs that really should have been hits. So if you like music, go check out his channel. I
will say that it was easier. Actually, Andy did the camera work for me, and it was something to do during the pandemic when we were all laid off. But once we started working again, it just became too much of a time filler, and unfortunately, I stopped it. So, but maybe one day I might pick it back up.
Now that we have this awesome software, it's probably a lot easier to just cut an episode, and just maybe be a little more off the cuff with it. I think we should try it out sometime. In a future book, Sean goes into talking about how the characters interact with historic events. In one book, it's the eruption of Mount St. Helens.
Oh boy. And
where two of the main characters' friends die because they went hiking up there. And they happened to be hiking at the time the mountain blew up. So he has to save their lives. One time in trying to do that, it was too late. He ends up dying. He tries to save the life of a family who was camping on the mountain because he knows what's going to happen. There's this family. The guy's name is Merwin because, there's always one guy in the 80s named Merwin left over from the 70s. He sees this guy and his kids and his wife, and he's like, you should leave. And the guy's woo-woo enough to understand that, okay, this person knows something I don't, so they take off. But he tries to stop the assassination of John Lennon, and he's successful. And he gets injured in the process, and there's a scene where John and Yoko thank him. They're in the hospital room. Kelly wants to know if it's portrayed accurately. Now, you guys don't know because you haven't read the book or heard the book.
No.
I think it's done really well. John has been known to call Yoko Ono mother for a long time. Yoko comes off as very grateful, very happy, and John actually ends up recording a song that the character's father wrote and releasing it as a track. But then John passes away shortly thereafter because certain events have to happen. I think going back to time travel tropes, there are certain events that happen that have to anchor us to the reality that we have. Otherwise, it really is spinning out of control. Anything can happen. Is that something that you feel like helps ground a lot of these stories, is that there's always fixed events that will occur no matter what?
Those are important, I think, for storytelling purposes. And at the same time, if, I guess, mishandled, could fall under that trope sense. But again, it's really powerful that certain things cannot be changed, or maybe they can, but sometimes the point in time is sort of fixed for specific but unknown reason.
And Thomas Weaver, Carrie says that in one of her lives, Gerald Ford beat Jimmy Carter. Like there was one, there's been a couple of things where there have been variations, but I guess they don't impact things much. And maybe that's just a way of throwing some variation in the timelines, or maybe that's a commentary on no matter who's president, nothing's really going to change. I mean, we might not think that now, but back then we think about it as in, would it really have made much of a difference no matter which one of them was president?
Well, at that time, it probably might have, because we had the gas shortage in the 70s while Jimmy Carter was president. So that might not have happened if we had Gerald Ford as president.
Right. Yeah. I was very young. I didn't really know a lot about that. We know a lot about it in hindsight, but at the time I was like 4 years old. So.
Yeah.
There's a series on Apple TV called For All Mankind, and
Yes,
the premise
yes.
is the Russians initially beat the U.S. to the moon, and that causes a slight change of future events that ripple throughout the decades that follow.
Seasons. If either of you were able to go back in time and be reborn, I know I sort of touched on that. I asked about personal events that you would want to change. Are there any bigger picture events that you would want to change or try to change?
On a personal sense, I'd make small changes. Like I'd probably pick a different major for in college, and I might invest better. Little things. But it's as topsy and turvy as my life has been. I feel like if I would go back and make too many changes, my life would be so drastically different.
Right.
Just based on even like where I end up moving, it would radically change what I know of the present.
Right. Well, at the time, let's say if you're reborn 30 years ago, and when you're 19, and then you come up, you're what, 48, 49?
Yeah, 49.
So you're 49. You're going to be a different 49-year-old than you are today.
Yeah.
And you're going to have all the past knowledge that you had from your last life. So there's a lot of hard drives. I mean, I find my memory slipping as it is. Like I can't remember things in detail that happened 30, 35 years ago. I can remember bits and pieces, and sometimes I don't remember them clearly. So I can imagine going through a whole nother lifetime and then trying to remember. When somebody dies in the Inverse, they don't take anything with them. So in some cases, the lives that are being lived are being spent collecting information about things like stocks and investment, because that's a natural thing. It's like, well, if I can relive my life again, then I'm going to buy myself a whole bunch of Apple and Microsoft and Amazon stock, and I'm going to get super freaking rich.
Right.
But the kicker on that is that doesn't ever make the people on the books happy.
Right.
It makes them secure, but it doesn't lead to something meaningful. There's always something in their life that money can't really fix. But that is sort of a natural thing that you want to do, because you want to provide yourself a safety net to give yourself
just for
the freedom to do the things that you want to do. You want to pursue things in your life that maybe you didn't have a chance to. Like maybe if you could go back and provide better for your financial security through investments, you would be doing film or something like something artistic, rather than just slogging it at 9 to 5. So
yeah.
And I would do the same thing. Honestly, I would want to provide security so I could just be a full-time musician. So
I mean, just in the sense that it would offer you those opportunities that you didn't have before, which in a way might provide a little bit more of that happiness. But yeah, I mean, the money itself is just for security, but also you obviously would want to try to help prevent certain major horrible things.
I was thinking more along like major things. I mean, I'm not like 9/11, but there's a lot of really crazy things that happen. I mean, there are personal tragedies that we've had. Yeah. Maybe we have friends that might have taken their own lives, that maybe we want to try to intervene and say, hey, you should talk to somebody. I know you're suffering.
Right. As far as bad things go, I mean, as far as like on a grand scale, I know a lot of times a lot of people will say, oh, for saving Kennedy, like, oh, you had to take out or kill the person who killed Kennedy. There are ways of changing history without a death or a murder being involved.
Sure.
So I just feel like for the way times are right now, I would have liked to have been there some way to avoid the entering in of the political arena. If there was a way that could be changed, if I'm not trying to be polarizing, I'm just saying, regardless of where you are politically, everybody has to at some point admit that this is not where you wanted us to be. So maybe a mistake was made, and maybe if we could have fixed the mistake a little while ago.
Here's a theory I have, and this does sort of border on it's theoretical, but it also, which is based on the present we find ourselves in. A lot of people I've talked to, we joke that this is the Biff Tannen timeline. Yeah. And we all know who Biff is. However, I kind of go a little bit deeper, because with the rise of generative AI and the technology advancing rapidly, I think to myself, in all of these time travel stories we read about, it's usually the scientist who is motivated by benevolent altruism for all humanity to invent something that we can use to do the right thing. What if time travel was invented by bastard billionaires who wanted to plunder the past? We sometimes joke about, well, if time travel were possible, we wouldn't be where we are now. Somebody would have stopped it. Yeah. But maybe if the people who invented time travel intended it to be this way the whole time, then maybe that's the problem. I mean, again, this is theoretical. Right. I believe it exists, but if it did, we wouldn't really know about it.
Yeah, we wouldn't be
Yeah,
aware of the
sure.
changes that would happen because we don't know how time travel happens.
Yeah.
We don't know if it would be a branch or if it would just be a ripple change, and we would be totally unaware.
Yeah, it really weighs on me because this is what I think about when I can't sleep at night, 4 a.m, and I can't fall back asleep, and my anxiety brain starts talking to me about existential issues like this. Is what if the bad guys win? There's no guarantee
Right.
that everybody who wins is going to have noble intentions. There's a lot of people out there who are they're out for themselves. They have the means, they have uncountable wealth, and they're spending it on these crazy pet projects that right now we think are ridiculous. I'll bring up Elon Musk wanting to invest in robots now. Why do we need robots? Who wants
Because
this?
it's the 21st century.
I know, but we don't need, if you're going to invent a robot, why make it a humanoid bipedal robot? There's a million more things you can do with
Right.
robotics and technology than make, aluminum people.
There are better ways of spending that amount of money than what
Exactly.
he's planning on doing.
Yes. Yeah.
But
I mean, of course, it's his money. He can spend it however he wants, but it's not something that the rest of us should applaud.
how does
either,
it benefit
How does it
humanity?
benefit the world? Humanity?
yeah,
exactly.
Eventually these things that are created by or invented by these companies and these tech wizards are supposed to filter down and benefit things,
Yeah.
and benefit the rest of the people. And we've seen the word enshittification, how everything just starts off really cool and then just becomes another subscription, pay for service, scammy type of thing where it just, nothing really feels right. You feel like you need a shower after you agree to a terms of service agreement. It really just is the bottom of the barrel. Maybe this is the way our future overlords, if you will, want it to be. This is the road there, and maybe somebody has to break into the time machine and come back, like the TV show Travelers. I don't know if you've ever seen Travelers. Yes. That's a good show. I really love that show.
Is that with the man and the kid?
Yeah, it's the guy from Will and Grace.
Okay, it's not the one.
It's
There was one in the early
it's a
80s.
newer. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you were thinking about the one, that very short-lived series where the man and the boy. It's
And the
kind of
stopwatch.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
stopwatch. I
It's-
can't
it
remember.
was sort of
John Haxon, I think his name was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of a precursor to Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Journeyman or a traveler. It was something along the lines
Right.
of that. I'm gonna have to look it up.
It was
later.
like a blink and you miss it, like 2
Yeah.
seasons done.
Yeah.
We watched the episode one time.
Yeah.
But they went back to ancient Rome or something. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank Andy and Chris for being here with me today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like, subscribe, get the notification, hype it if you want to. And I hope to see you guys again in about 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Somewhere in Oregon,
Cheerio.
there is a town where the end is not necessarily the end. People live, people die, and sometimes they open their eyes again. This is Death Takes a Holiday, a Middle Falls podcast.